What is the best vehicle ever made? Has it got wings? Has it got two wheels?
Has it got a tipper?
One wheel? Has it got two legs? Has it got a rotoring copter on it? I'm shaking my head because I don't need to answer any of those questions. Today's episode is going to answer that question. We have the best motorized vehicle ever made. And today we're going to be fixing it up and working on it, aren't we, Martin? And this is unanimous, right? We agree on this.
Yeah. I've owned one. You've owned multiple.
Yes.
They are the best vehicle with a motor on the planet.
I agree. Either electric or petrol, this is as good as it gets.
Even better than rocket.
What's that? I don't know what that is. I guess we'll find out later. Anyway, we're going to run the graphics. Martin, bring it in. Bring it in. I'm going to wait here. I'm so excited. This is the day that I've been waiting for since we started Mighty Car Mods. Welcome to another episode of Mighty Car Mods. I'm very, very excited about today because this is a video we've been wanting to do for a very long time. And you know, when I'm standing here and there's nothing behind me, it's going to be a good day. Martin, bring it in. Yes. Just slowly. Yes. Everybody. The best vehicle ever made. In the back of Marty's K-Truck. This is a very broken but very awesome Honda CT110 motorcycle. It's got a 105cc engine that hopefully you'll get to hear later if we get it working. These have been sold for decades and decades, CT90, then a 110. It's a very, very basic bike, a very industrial bike. They're used on farms here in Australia. They're called an ag bike, which is a slightly different version. You had the ag bike version, didn't you?
I had the ag bike version with a 2-speed gearbox. These are called like Cubs, right?
There's Super Cubs, there's Hunter Cubs. They're all slightly different. We've got a few stories about those coming your way shortly. But these are also used by the Australian Post Office. They've been delivering mail all around this country also for decades, and for a long time you could not buy them. You could only get them from the post service. Now, once you'd actually acquired one, which you would normally have to do by an auction, on the back, somewhere up here, there should be the original postcode of where it delivered. Maybe it's underneath, but it's inscribed on the back of them. This one here's done 28,000 kilometers, which sounds like a lot, but they go forever. Let me tell you a little bit more about this bike, and then let me tell you everything that's broken about the bike also. Actually, Marty, can you help me get it down?
Can we just have a little chat about your clothing? What is?
Oh, don't do that.
I'm pretty sure I saw you wear this like 13 years ago at Auto Salon.
Okay, you're here with Mighty Mods. This is Linnell and Anna. How has Auto Salon been so far?
Yeah.
Is it the same hoodie?
It still works.
You know that we have hoodies.
Yeah.
You could get a new one.
But this still works. This is, see, this
But
is...
look, there's holes in the elbows, dude.
This is, okay.
But why?
But let's not comment on the way people look, Martin.
That's not how you look. I'm just curious about the hoodie. You always look good, but your hoodie, I don't know about the hoodie.
Well, it still works, Martin. And this episode is all about eco, isn't it? It's all about this here. The original TV commercials of these bikes showed people at Bowser's being impressed that they use no fuel.
So you're saying there's synchronicity and parallels between this Postie Bike and your hoodie? Did you think of that when you woke up this morning?
Yes.
No.
But I couldn't describe it as well as you did. That was really good, Martin. That was very well enunciated.
Thanks.
Now shut the f*** up and help me get it off the truck.
The CT110 is one of the most successful motorcycles of all time and has been sold in countries all over the world. This version has remained mostly unchanged since it was first manufactured in Japan in 1980. It features a 105cc, 4-stroke air-cooled engine with a semi-automatic clutch and was designed for commercial and agricultural use. These bikes have a rock-solid reputation, and adventurers have taken them all over the world with little maintenance needed other than tyres, oil and changing the chain and sprocket. I legitimately love this bike so much that I commissioned an artist to come and do a portrait of it. And yes, this painting cost way more than the cost of the actual bike.
So these are known here as Postie Bikes because in Australia and New Zealand the postal services use it to deliver mail. It made sense for the suburbs that they were usually tooling around. You could go up to letterboxes, up and over driveways, grass. A lot of people who put new grass in at home will know the sound of this bike and what it means for your newly laid turf. But this is a CT110X, which means it's got some electronic ignition compared to the early ones that were in the 80s and before.
This is a 2007 model.
2007 model, and the other thing about this that's a few things that are a little bit different is that it's got road tyres on it. So a lot of the time they still had, even for Postie bikes, like the ag tyres, so they're sort of like an all-terrain tyre.
Yeah.
Not really muddy, but they could give a bit of mud. So we put a set of Michelins on this ages ago, and they're still holding up really well, which is a bit better for when you're just riding on the street. But we've also been down some trails on these, and it's survived quite well.
That's right. Now, what makes these a really interesting bike is that it is clutchless. Well, it has a clutch, but it's automatic. So over here, it's 4-speed. And the way that you change gears, if you have a look down here, normally on a bike, you've got this kind of system. So you kind of got neutral here and you're down one and then up. This here is just 1, 2, 3, 4. And you can either get your foot under like that, or you kick back here. So it's kind of on this pivot in the middle. So 4-speed, auto clutch, and what that means is this hand here is available when you've got your big postage bag and you're getting your mail and you're riding along and you're sticking the post in. It's also unique in that it's got a stand on each side and a center stand. I don't know if that really matters, but apparently that's a big deal because people seem to like it. Maybe it's just a postie thing. Now, this is my personal bike, which brings us to a pertinent question that I know what you're thinking. How could I let my own vehicle get into a state such as this? It's not running, it's broken, the seat's gone, the tyres are flat, it stinks, there's petrol leaking out of it, all the indicator stalks are broken. And that is because I lent this bike to someone and they've actually had it for a couple of years.
You need to seriously reconsider your lending strategies, I've just realised. Didn't you lose a bike in the bush?
I did. Well, another one of these that I had, one of my friends rode off a cliff. He's okay, but it was a multi-day, multi-person mission to go and reclaim that bike. In fact, there's a whole video on that salvaging
we'll link
thing.
to it.
So we'll link to that so you can have a look. It was actually fairly amazing. But yeah, so I lent this to someone who was living out west and they had it at their train station. So they were kind of going to uni and then they'd park it at their train station. And then I believe they just left it there for quite some time. And this is the state that it's in now. So it doesn't start, it doesn't work, it's missing a bunch of stuff. Today we will be fixing it.
It's worth also noting that when these things were new, you couldn't actually buy them in Australia. Up till 2009, you couldn't actually buy them because they were only imported exclusively for the mail service, Australia Post.
That's MAIL.
So that's why these. But once the posties are finished with them, they all put between 20 and 30,000 Ks on usually.
Well, they've always got. You know, when you buy a car from Japan, you import it. How many Ks are on it? 60,000.
60,000.
They've always got, unless you've got the odometer certified of the K-Truck. They've always got 60,000 Ks, and the Honda CT110s always have between 25 and 30,000 Ks. It must be a government thing. They go, it's got to this point, and now they're sold.
Exactly. So it would get to that point, they would decide that they needed to get some new ones. So the postie would get a sick new bike to do wheelies on. And what do you do with this? So they used to send them to auction, to a specific auction house, and people would buy them. And we know guys that would buy these because they were so cheap and convert them into go-karts, like multi-speed transmission go-karts.
Yep.
There's a big spares market out there, and you could occasionally pick one up really cheap. I think I paid about $1.5 grand for mine. It was in a bit better condition, slightly newer.
That was a long time ago though, because they're worth way more now.
And it worked, yeah. Now they've sort of reached that classic version. And the next one I bought was the Ag version, which I paid over $4,000 for. That one was imported privately or through an actual dealer. That never went through the auction system. And those ones are worth more money. Now they've sort of hit this sort of classic. If you can find one that still works, now they're actually worth some money.
Yes.
Particularly if you clean them up. But luckily, all the spares and parts for them are still really cheap.
They're really, really cheap. So we bought a bunch of stuff for this from eBay, including a carb rebuild kit, $9. Some things are expensive, like a new set of indicators was kind of like hundreds of dollars, but I've just bought the stalks. When I first went to a postie auction, have I told you the famous postie quote that I heard from a guy that was there? So I was bidding on a bike, I didn't win, and there was a guy next to me who won, and I went, "Congratulations, mate," and he turned to me, and no word of a lie, this is what he actually said. I go, "Congratulations, what are you going to do with your bike?" And he goes, "Mate, there's nothing like it. you drop some acid, jump on your Postie and go pig hunting. It's the best.
Wow. But where did this one actually come from then if you didn't win at auction?
This one here I bought with a busted first gear. So this one, I got this for $350 and I've had this bike for almost 15 years. I'll tell you a funny story. There's a couple of different kinds of biking kind of people out there. There's some people who are like, you know what, motorbikes are for everyone, go and enjoy it. And then you've got the more elite people who are just into their cruisers or they're just into their sports bikes or whatever. And this here I bought for $300 and knowing I was going to have to spend some more money on it. And I took it down to a motorbike shop in Redfern and I took it in there, you're changing from first to third, maybe it was second gear that was broken. And I took the bike in there and I said, oh, do you guys repair motorbikes? And they go, yeah, we do motorbikes. Oh, do you do that? Mate, that's not a motorbike. Hey, mate, look who's in here, boys. And they brought the mechanics out to stand and laugh that I'd brought this in to get repaired. Like, just super rude. And so then I went down to the next motorbike shop and I went, hey guys, do you repair Posties? And then they go, no, we don't repair them, mate. We only do real bikes. Real bikes. We can sell you a real bike if you want. And I was like, but this is like, that's a real bike. It's got two wheels on it. And so they laughed me out of there. So I went to the third place, which was down in Alexandria, and I kind of very tentatively went in there. And there was a really scary dude that worked in there, like shaved head, full bikey looking dude. And I said, how you going? And he goes, all right. And I was really honest. And I said, look, I've just been to 2 motorbike shops. They've just laughed me out of there. My Postie, you know, there's something wrong with it and I need it fixed. And I said, and the last 2 shops just laughed at me, the mechanics laughed at me, and he just goes, stay right there. And then I stood there, and while he still had eye contact with me, he called his mechanics over, and he's like, mechanics, get over here. And they all came over and made a circle around me, and they looked like crazy, like, you know, like they looked like people you don't want to mess with. Anyway, he said to them, this just went down to these 2 other motorbike shops, and the that worked down there laughed him out of there because they reckon this motorbike is not a real motorbike. Well, that is a real motorbike. So one of you get over here right now and fix this motorcycle before I punch you in the head. And right then and there, my motorbike got fixed. It cost about $150. And so for total buy price of $500, I had this mad bike that I've now had for one and a half decades.
It was on our lunch break.
Oh, well, that works.
I'm going, me. See ya.
This would have been before Mighty Car Mods, right?
Yeah, it was.
So this was like, you know, we had motorbikes because our recording studio was in the city.
Someone stole this.
Oh, someone stole it, and remember...
And you were Devo.
Of course I was Devo, and they stole a whole bunch of stuff off it, which is, I think, what happened to it again. And the police took it down to the impound yard. Do you remember how much I had to pay to release it?
No.
$1,100.
Oh,
and I was like, that's 3 times what I paid for the bike.
Didn't they find it like 1 street away?
They found it 1 street away, lying on its side, and they couldn't get it started. They tried to hotwire it, which is an easy thing to do. Please don't steal my motorbike if you see it out there. But they'd got the 2 wires wrong. So underneath there, actually, there'll probably still be a bit of history. If we pull this off, you'll probably see my soldering and my fixing it up. Anyway.
Wow.
It doesn't work. It's broken. I do not know what state it's in because I haven't seen it for 2 years. Today, we're going to fix it up, Martin.
Sure.
What are we going to do first?
Pull stuff off it. Dude, it's what I really want to do first is get rid of that smell.
Yeah.
The fuel must be stale because it just reeks of like shellac, like shellacky old fuel. So
over
that's
here,
got to come off.
If you have a look at this, so they've got these little taps. And when you're not using your bike, you know, modern bikes do this automatically. That's the choke there, funnily enough. The taps, that turns the fuel on, that turns it off, and that's reserve. It basically has 2 little feed pipes. One's high. When the fuel gets down, the bike turns off, and then you put the reserve valve on and it lets it take that intake there. I remember coming across the Harbour Bridge in this once and coming up the other side and just having it go in the 80 zone. I'm in the right lane.
Yeah.
These top out at 90 k's an hour and having to reach down. So if you've got a dirt bike or a motorbike, a good tip is you should actually practice how to like flip your reserve switch on.
That happened to me on a massive hill as well, like a huge hill, and I reached down to put it in reserve, but it was already in reserve because I forgot to flick it back. Yeah. So it was dead bottom of a hill. That sucked.
You can see there's fuel all over this. Like it's just fuely, it's leaking, and so we are going to be rebuilding the carby. We'll put some air in it. It doesn't start or work at all, so we'll check the electrics out. We'll change the lights. I've ordered a seat as well. People cut the seats of motorbikes. It's just a thing people do.
Really?
They just walk past and cut it. Just to, I don't know why you would damage stuff that's not yours. Same as people with supercars. I'm not into them, but people throw shakes at them, they key them and stuff. Anyway, so the seat got slashed, but again, it's easy to get secondhand stuff. So Martin, I reckon we just dive right into it.
Today, my poor little Postie is getting a proper makeover. We're going to fix anything that's broken, replace anything that's missing, and give it a full service and rebuild the carby. You can see here where I fixed the wiring after it was stolen. It's also leaking petrol because the valve was left on. And no surprises here, it's also missing a battery. Motorbikes are a really great way of getting into DIY because the parts are cheap and everything is so accessible. Next up, the spark plug's coming out and it'll get replaced with an NGK plug from Japan.
This shows you exactly how the fuel tap works. So that's now on, which is how you'd normally run the bike. When you flick it to reserve, you can see that it will now start to run some more fuel again. So there's a limited amount of fuel that you have in reserve, which is right at the bottom of the tank, but that pretty much just shows exactly how that tap works. It's like a three-way valve, I guess.
I think you get about 100 Ks to a tank, or 110 Ks. I think it's a 3 or 4 litre tank from memory.
Okay, so that's how much fuel was in the bike. You had exactly 175 millilitres left.
Right, so half a tank.
And that's really stale, and stale fuel has a really particular smell, and often that's how you can tell if something's leaking, because it's got this really pungent smell to it. Interestingly, Japanese fuel smells completely different.
It
but
does.
That's still like a little bit of reserve tank left. That probably would have got you the 5K to the servo.
Assuming the bike actually ran, which it doesn't.
That would help. So we can go and dispose of this responsibly in an oil disposal receptacle.
So the spark plug's out. It doesn't look any different than how a spark plug normally looks when it comes out of the Postie. Running a little bit rich, a little bit black. This is an NGK plug. Of course, NGK makes spark plugs that we run in all of our cars, but they also make them for all sorts of machinery, including motorbikes. If you are playing along at home, you need a DR8 ESL. And some people do need to use a different plug or gap them down differently if they're running a little power module on these, which can give them a little bit more power. And of course, you don't need to grease these up. People are still kind of saying, stick some grease on there to make it easier to pull out next time. Unfortunately, if you're torquing things up to their exact specifications, that can give you an inaccurate torque setting. And this is a little NGK hose, but you can use whatever, just a little bit of hose to get it in there so you don't cross thread anything. And that is our first step between a new spark plug and some new fuel. It's a good start, Martin.
And if you're lucky, because these engines aren't lent on too hard, if you're lucky, the pistons and the bore and the actual engine themselves, they usually survive quite well. And so wear items like spark plugs, oil, chains and sprockets, that's the stuff that you're usually changing a lot, because it does only have 28,000 Ks on it. It's not actually that much. For a motorbike even, it's not. It's just sort of running. But interestingly, with the spark plugs, NGK was originally a ceramics company.
Oh, right.
So like when electricity started to become a thing, they needed some expertise on how to insulate that electrical wire from the post that's holding it up. And so yeah, they did ceramics, and the ceramics is still on there today.
When you're putting the spark plugs in, you don't need to go too hard on them. You just want to feel that little washer crush down. That is done. That is in. That is one task sorted.
And the mod he's talking about as well, you can get an upgraded CDI, which changes your ignition curve.
Yes.
So if you do that, potentially you're going to make the motor ping, so then you need to run better fuel. And then if you want to go even harder, you can go high comp by changing the pistons and doing all sorts of...
Now, one of our mates actually ran one of them. He was we're in a bit of a Postie gang, a group of us that would go out doing silly stuff on Postie bikes. He was running the CDI mod upgrade, but did you notice his bike didn't actually go any faster?
No faster.
At all. It would just backfire like crazy.
I modified mine as well. I modified mine, put air filter, put the CDI, did the plug, put a different chain and sprocket, and in a drag race, 0 to 60 Ks an hour, the same. This one's always been fast.
This one's always been fast.
It's always had a bit of an edge, hasn't it?
Not now, but someone took an edge.
Which
to
means
the
motor's healthy. That's good to know.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'll pull the carby off, because the reason it's leaking fuel, and it looks like it has been, is probably the seal on the bottom of the carby has died, the little plunger seal.
Yeah.
So we'll just pull that apart and have a look, but this is about to come off.
Cool. Well, I'm going to do I might drop the oil now, so while I'm on this side, and then once you're clear over there, I'm going to take the air filter out, and we'll replace that. It's an oiled filter. And then one step closer to 105 cc's of hectic madness, people. Actually, I'm going to take off the air filter and air filter assembly first, because that has to be removed anyway to get to the carby. What's strange about this is that the air filter intake is actually this luggage tray. So you can see here where the carb is, you follow this back through the filter all the way, and then that's connected to the luggage tray, which is where the air comes in.
Do you know why that's clever? Because if you're doing a river crossing on your mad ag bike, your butt is wet when your intake is wet.
Oh, I see. That's actually really clever.
And also doesn't get wet in the rain too, which is kind of handy.
There's some pliers over there. Can you just chuck me those bullnose pliers, please?
It's the same theory with the K-truck intake that goes all the way back through the tray and then back into the chassis rail. It's kind of the same thing. Seems to work.
It's I mean, these were used, I think, in Africa in like the 70s. Like like missionaries used them, and people were using them to go, and I think doctors and medical people and stuff. Like, so they just had to keep working and keep working. They did. Oh, there's so much fuel and gunk under there. Far out. Oh, look at that.
Oh, gross. Oh, that's oil. That's filter oil.
Filter goo.
Yeah, maybe someone's oiled up that filter just with a little bit too much oil.
Look, we got
Oh, nice.
goo and goo, but that's way too much. There shouldn't be nearly that much goo coming out of there.
That's heaps.
The best ways of keeping your Postie running are regularly changing the oil, spark plug and air filter, which are all relatively cheap and easy maintenance items. Now these bikes run an oiled air filter, but it is not meant to be that wet. Next up, the air filter enclosure's coming off so that we can remove the carby, but there's another surprise in store.
Oh,
Whoa.
I'll just get a tray. I have no idea why there is so much of this red filter goo here in this thing.
Whoa.
There's no reason for that.
That's weird.
When you oil up these filters, because it is an oiled filter, there's just meant to be a little line, you massage it in, turn it in and out a couple of times, and that's it. So I do not know what is going on. Also got to make sure that you get from inside there that, because once we change the filter, that there goes on the end of that to keep a good seal. All right, take this off. Poor Postie, look at it. It's just getting smashed, Martin. Not going to lend you my bike again, mate. Wasn't Martin. Martin would never do that. Martin is one of those dudes, if you lent him your car, he would bring it back to you washed and with a full tank of fuel. He's that kind of dude. I'm also that kind of dude. And he's also the kind of dude that, like, if he used your car and then caused some damage to it, he'd get it fixed. I remember when I borrowed Gavin's Porsche 911?
Yeah.
I took it out for the weekend. Didn't really like it. Sorry, Porsche people. But, you know, times have changed. Anyway, I drove along, rock came up, boom, broke the windscreen. Oh. He was away for a week and I was just like, cool. So I paid to get it fixed, got it done because that's what you do. So when he got back from holidays, he said that I could use his car. I was super upfront. I said, look, I drove it up to Central Coast, rock hit it, broke the windscreen, cost heaps of money, sorry, but I fixed it. And he's just like, oh, you should have told me. Why? I have windscreen insurance.
Oh, no.
It's a good idea to clean off any dirt and grime before you start pulling mechanical things apart. This means stuff that's meant to stay on the outside of the motorbike doesn't end up inside carburetors that have very small openings that can be easily blocked.
So it is super cheap and easy to buy a brand new carby. This is one of the most copied carbies in the whole world. This is a Keihin. It is a genuine Japanese made carby, the ones the Posties originally came with. You can buy different / bigger carbies. It doesn't really work. Like, I'm a fan of messing with stuff and modifying stuff, but on these, they're already so well matched that if you're going to try and get bigger horsepower, you may as well go right back to square one, different comp, different pistons, or a bigger engine, which people also do, putting 125s and 150s in them.
They are finely tuned.
I recommend with these particular vehicles to try and keep your carby, because I mean, I know very little about carbies, let me just say that firstly, but what I can say is rebuilding these is simple. These ones just are really well matched to the bike and they work really well. So you can buy rebuild kits, which cheap would give you all the new seals and needles and seats and all the other
I'm going to grab the rebuild kit and show you all actually.
That's in these carbies. And also, if you want to learn about carbies, this is the simplest way to start. These are really cheap and easy to work on. Big carbies are a bit of a mystery to me because I haven't had cars that have them.
This here is from eBay, hopefully. This is what we're after here, Martin, and this is...
Yeah, cool. Your indicator stalks.
Not a carby rebuild kit.
Won't be much good for the carby, but...
Oh, yeah.
Well, there it is.
There it is. That's the carby rebuild kit. That's $9.
Yeah,
$9.
So there you go. All the seals, the various O-rings and seals and stuff in there. I can see, yeah, new needles and seats and idle valves and springs and just
but,
that's $9.
Yeah, but I don't think we should touch any of the jetting yet, right?
No jets.
Shouldn't we just change all the
Sometimes like these idle circuits and stuff get so blocked up you can't save them.
Yeah, okay.
So it's the stock stuff, but they just, because I'll show you when we pull it apart, it's just you got to blow them out and soak them.
I reckon we blow it out, clean it, do what we need to do, change all the seals, and then if it runs in its current format, do. Otherwise, pull it apart and go again. Last time I did a carby rebuild was on the GN250 build, which you can check out. We'll put in the description and put up above, which was a little motorbike that got going again. Anyway, the oil is out. Here's a quick tip for oil on these Postie bikes. Because of where the piston is sitting, you're not going to get all of the oil out unless you give it a kick. So you can kind of see how much oil's coming out at the moment. And just a quick little tip, if I give this a little kick, you should start seeing a little bit more oil come out over here on this side. So is there more coming out?
Yep.
Yeah, there it is. So just start.
Blob.
Blob, blob, blob. Sounds like a jellyfish, doesn't it?
One of the best things about this kind of bike is the simplicity, and that applies to the carburetor as well. It's well protected by the air filter design, and so its biggest enemy is stale fuel. That can gum up the inner workings and present as all kinds of annoying problems, like lean or rich mixtures, weird fuel bowl issues, or in our case, leaks. You can get rebuild kits for a few bucks that can solve most of your problems, or if it ends up being properly worn out or broken, a new carb is usually less than 50 bucks.
One of the major causes of carbied stuff like Postie bikes and farm bikes and other cool buggies and other stuff not working is usually just a gummed up carby. If you leave fuel in it for too long, it just turns into this weird sort of goo, and you can also see just black particles and stuff settles from the fuel. So these things don't like being parked up. If you are going to park them up, you can winterize them, and you can kind of prevent this happening. But otherwise, you just got to run them occasionally. It sort of cleans things out, and all it takes is a tiny bit of one of those little bits of junk to get stuck in one of these little tiny openings, and it's all over. So needles and seats and valves and washers and all this sort of stuff that's in here is what usually causes a problem and usually causes hard starting, or it runs like rubbish. But we're going to rebuild it, so it'll be perfect.
Can I show you something, Martin? I have a magical hand. I can, that sounds kind of gross. I do have a magical hand, but I can make this hand land anywhere in this room. This is Mighty Mod's perfect.
You want me to pick?
Yeah, well, you can pick where it goes.
I want you to bounce it off the chop trolley and then make it land on the floor, but it has to land like there, exactly there.
All right, I got that.
All right, smartass. Through the Lotus, the two posts of the Lotus wing, and inside the bucket. Go. In the bucket?
Yep, it's in there.
That was pretty good. Now, long range, all the way from here, I want you to land it in the toolbox, but it has to also hit the bucket. No way!
Yes!
No way! I want you to hit the door of the chemical cabinet.
Yes.
Removing the key using only that hand. You have to remove from the chemical cabinet a specific can. It has to be that blue paint and only that can. And it has to come out and nothing else can come out. It has
And
to be
not
totally
from here?
clean. No, from back here.
Okay.
From the toolbox.
Okay.
That's 8 meters or something.
All right. Yes!
Okay. I'm reasonably impressed.
Yes!
Reasonably impressed.
So all the oil's gone. Next thing you want to do is just give a little wipe to the sump plug here. There was nothing bad on there, which is good because it's not kind of telling us there's anything going wrong inside the engine. I cheaped out and didn't get a whole new sump plug bolt. Okay, so new sump washer is on. You don't need to go to town on these as well. You just want to crush that washer up. So maybe like quarter of a turn. I just felt that go. How are you going up there, Martin?
I'm about to clean up this carby with an ultrasonic cleaner for any of that sort of hardware. You can sit there and scrub and spray and soak and do all sorts of stuff, or whack it in an ultrasonic cleaner, which you'll usually get rid of most of the gunk. You can see from this though, why they gunk up so easily. I mean, look at the size of the holes in there.
Wow.
So fuel and air and whatever else, or fuel, I guess, is supposed to travel through those tiny little holes. They call them like emulsion tubes or something. I don't like that word.
Remember when we're working on
Emulsion.
we're doing the, what was it, the moon buggy?
Yeah.
And they've got all the carbies have got all these crazy names like
Emulsion thing.
thrusters and
these are as simple.
weird
These are
things.
as simple as it gets. But anyway, that's why it clogs up so bad. So the rebuild kit gives you a bunch of them. You can also clean up your original ones. But what we're definitely going to have to do is this little guy is most likely responsible for all the fuel leaks. And what happens is this thing is like the float.
Yeah.
That basically tells the carby when it needs to draw or let more fuel in. And what happens is this little guy is up in there, and it's got like a little seat, a little rubber seat there, and that rots first.
Right.
And then this stops working properly, and it either floods or doesn't start or just pisses fuel out everywhere. So you almost always have to change that one in something that's been sitting for a while. And in terms of, we just pull these out and make sure there's nothing, and then we can clean these with ultrasonic cleaner. And if they're too screwed to use again, we can use the new
Replace
stuff.
them.
Yeah,
Cool.
either way.
I'm going to put the oil in. It takes exactly 1 litre of oil, so I'm going to throw that in. And then I'm going to fix up the indicator stalks, and hopefully we just need then some mirrors and a seat. And we're getting close to our Postie town.
So that one is blocked, so there's a hole that goes the whole way through and basically totally blocked up. So you can either pull a bit of a brush wire off a wire brush like that to clean it, or like a really thin bit of whatever, paper clip, whatever you can fit through there. And more often than not, there's just some gunk in there that'll be stopping it from starting cleanly. But we can also just whack it in the ultrasonic cleaner first and sort of melt stuff out of it and then see what happens.
I'm basically just marking a litre on the back of here because we've got these markings. I need to go from there down to there.
Easy.
You can decant it into something else, but I don't have something else, so that's what's going in. Oil I'm using, Castrol Power One Racing 5W40. You can pretty much put any oil in these. People have run them with all sorts of crazy things in them and they work. So anything other than a crazy thing is a step up from a crazy thing.
For the comparatively low price of oil, it is the best insurance policy for your motorbike's engine, and it's also a really easy and quick change. Depending on where you are in the world and what forum you read, you may use a different viscosity oil, and like all things on the internet, there's a lot of discussion and argument about what the best oil is for this kind of bike.
So on the CT110, the oil filler cap is also the dipstick, so it's got the 1 litre in it now, so we want to put that in, don't screw it in, just sit it there, and when that comes out, it should be, that is perfect. It is right there on the stick. So we've got spark, hopefully. We've got oil. I've got to get a battery. Then once the carby's back in there, we should be ready to kick it off, which is very, very exciting.
So I'm going to bathe my removable bits in the ultrasonic cleaner like that, and like that, and like that. Oh, I have to set it first. There it goes. Listen to it roar. That's using a thing called Ultrasonics. You can Google that to clean stuff off, basically vibrations. But works really well. You can actually get ultrasonic cleaner fluid, which is the best thing to use. It's a mix of surfactants and other funny words that basically just break down the oil and grease and the petrol and all the stuff that is in there. So will just give us a head start in terms of cleaning stuff. And there's one more hack I want to show you using brake and parts cleaner and now carby cleaner, which you would have heard of course. This is actually its purpose. It's to break down all the gunk and grime in there. You could dunk your whole carby, but there's actually other stuff going on in there with idle circuits and power circuits and other stuff that I'm not going to mess with and fill full of water. If I had like a solvent cleaner or something, I'd do it. Turns out I do have a solvent cleaner, but I'm not going to dunk that in the ultrasonic cleaner because I don't want to cause myself problems. Carby cleaner, brake and parts cleaner in this case, removes oil, grease, dirt and brake fluid. Well, there's no brake fluid in here. It'd be bad if there was, being this bike has no brake fluid. We are going to basically just wash out the carb using this stuff. So there's a few circuits that go through, like from the side and then into the little valves and whatever they're called in there. So we basically just blow out each one, and usually it comes out of a different place than you expect. There you go. So that middle circuit actually pops out of that one, and just by blasting some cleaner through there and then blasting some air through, we can make sure that there's no rubbish in there. Simplest way is to clean out and rebuild a little basic bike carby. There you go, there's another one there. So if I go in the side, it'll go up. Woo! Fill it full, let it sit for a bit, blow it out with compressed air, put it all back together, job done.
While the carby's getting cleaned up, I'm moving on to fixing the indicator stalks, which are looking very sad indeed. The fronts are done, now onto the back. We did buy a new air filter, but we couldn't get it to fit, so we've cleaned up the old one and now we're drying it off before putting it back on with some oil. The chain and sprockets are still in okay condition and don't need to be replaced yet, so we're going to give them a good clean. And then using a Ryobi cordless drill against the back tyre, we're going to get everything spinning around so we can reach all those hard to get to places.
I have given the chain an on-bike chain recondition. I don't recommend doing it this way. I only did it because my friend here was at the back of the bike and I couldn't get the wheel off. Normally you take the wheel off, take the sprockets off, take the chain off, soak it, blow it out, clean it off with a rag, etc. But you can do it on the bike too, which is actually a good way to do chain maintenance, clean it and then oil it. So I've cleaned it and then I'm going to lube it up with some WD-40 Automotive Specialist chain lube. How you going back there, mate?
Martin, changing these indicator stalks was more difficult than it would think, and it's just taken a long time. But the fourth one has just gone on. I'm just finishing off the wiring. Luckily, because we're not kind of changing anything except for the stalks, I don't know if that was a good thing or a bad thing. It just took a long time.
Actually, you know what? Through the stalks, right? Is that the hard bit?
They're through now. What I might do is I might connect this little thing on the back, and then can you just hold
like
that? Yeah, and just hold. I'm going to get my little JDM mad thing on here, so I'll do bottom left first, down there. Can you feel that? Has that gone into where it's got to go into?
Nope. Oh, yeah, now it has. Wait. Hang on, let's do the other bolts first.
And then we'll tighten up the rest of them. 3 more nuts down there. Thank you, mate. So now I will do bottom right.
Yep.
Now that this is done, hopefully the light part of what we're doing is working. And then air filter, that's clean, isn't it?
It's drying off now, yeah. I've just washed it and we're drying it off now.
And carby's in. I got to get a battery for it, so...
Seat. Fresh fuel.
Oh, and a seat. A seat is coming though. I bought a seat online. So, awesome. 2 more of these, and we're good to go. The one on the top right has a bracket, so can we do top left, please?
Yep.
This one, I don't know if my doodle's going to fit in there or not. So, no, my doodle won't fit. So I'll just have to do that one by hand. That's all good. Anyway, that's where we're up to. Oh, yeah, you hold that, I'll do that. Look at that. That's some teamwork, Martin. Can you actually feel me screwing that in or not?
I've got my fingers in the back bit and I'm holding one finger in one nut and the other nut's on the other finger.
Okay. Because I can't actually fit my tool in there, I'm putting one finger over there and then I'm just twisting round and round.
That's hurting my fingers. That's got so much energy, dude.
Yep, put yours in there.
If I put this ring around it, a ring spanner around it, and then you twist it.
I can't really twist it because the knob's too short. Can you move yours instead? Is that working?
Sort of, but it keeps hitting on the back part. Like, because I'm going in from the back, it's sort of, see what I mean? It hits this flappy bit.
I think it's just messed up because so many people have been in here before.
Totally.
Like it's a mess. What? Don't laugh at my bike.
It's messed up because so many people have been in here before.
It's true. It's true. I can get to the bottom though. Can you do the bottom left?
Yep.
Yeah. And bottom right.
Satisfaction. Seriously, all you need
Thank
is
you.
something battery operated, fixes everything.
That's actually true.
So we've got a new air filter, but it looked like a pool noodle and it wouldn't fit. So maybe it's for a different bike, or maybe it's just a pool noodle. So I cleaned out the old one using special filter cleaner, and now I've got filter oil, and it's going to go on there and then put all that end of it back together.
So I haven't been able to get a new battery for today's shoot, but we do have this one here, which is a Yuasa MF YTX4L BS, which must be from one of our other Postie projects. So it's been sitting around for a little while, but it has been on the charger and it's holding charge. So I'm putting that in. And then once that's done, oh, don't forget the little seal. Have you got the rubber seal that goes on the end of that?
Which end is it going?
That rubber seal there goes on the end that goes in first. Yep, that one, other way, that way, and then stick that end in first. Yep, that's it. Anyway, battery going in.
Once the battery goes in and then the air filter and air filter box is reassembled, then all I need is my seat to arrive in the mail and we are ready to start this bike and take it for a test ride.
All right, new battery is in.
Awesome.
And look at these keys. They're just sitting there taunting us.
They are.
Taunting us. It's not very comfortable at the moment. You get a butt full of 98 if you try and sit on there.
I'm just loosening the rear, whatever that thing is, hub. What do you call it? What's the bolt that goes through the back thing? Axle. The axle rose. I'm loosening the axle rose so that we can give it a bit more chain tension because she's a bit floppy. The chain's nice and clean now, but it's all flopping around. See?
I'm going to see, Martin, if we've got lights. Yes!
Oh, yes!
There's a neutral light. I wonder if my indicators work.
Congratulations, mate. Oh, it even
The
makes
back going?
makes the postie noise.
Right going?
Yeah.
Horn. Sweet. Oh, here's the other thing I forgot to tell you about this bike, which is unique. It's got a hand brake like a car handbrake. See this extra little knob here? So you pull this in and then you pull that in and now the front brake is locked on. So if you're kind of delivering mail like this and you need two hands, you put your brake on and then when you leave, you just squeeze it, off you go again. Another reason why this is the best vehicle ever made. All right, hopefully. Do you need these 3 bolts that we've got left, Martin?
Oh, they're for the seat.
Are you sure?
Oh no, they're for the cover, the shroud thing. All right, so chain tension's good. It actually tells you how much deflection you're supposed to have. It's actually a little bit too much. Oh, courier is here. Awesome.
Thank you, mate.
And that's kind of what we used to adjust these things on the back, and it pulls the axle back and forth. You've got to balance out. Oh,
The timing could not get any better, Martin.
oh, you got your seat.
We have a seat. Hopefully this one doesn't have I was going to say, hopefully it doesn't have a knife slash going through it. And I probably shouldn't unwrap it with a knife. Oops. That was just the underside, that's okay. All right. Good.
All right, all right, all right. Seat
All right,
level.
all right, all right. I'm actually just going to disinfect that.
Dude,
because
seat level.
oh, it's seat level.
Seat level.
Oh, that's really...
Get on your postie, your CT110, go for a burn, do a wheelie. Seat level.
I don't know if this is like a combo that anybody like recommends, but this gets rid of scum and grime and it's for bathrooms, so I imagine it's used for cleaning up poo, which is probably what has injected itself into this seat over the years. And this here is for 99.99% germs with aloe vera. What more could someone want? Look at my seat, Martin. Boom! Oh, it looks like a real motorbike again. Well, it'll never look like a real motorbike, but oh, that's comfortable. That's excellent.
After a final adjustment to make sure that everything's aligned on the back of the bike, we can put it all back together again, ready for the first start.
We are very, very close to seeing if our little nugget Honda CT110 actually starts. You've probably worked out by now that Marty and I absolutely love modifying cars and modifying bikes. Whether on one end of the spectrum we've got something like the Honda Zoomer that we got from Japan, or whether it's a Postie Bike, or whether it's the GN250 that I got going again, which was a complete mess, all the way through to my Triumph Bonneville, which is kind of at the other end of the spectrum. But the one thing that is consistent with all of our vehicles is that Shannons does provide us insurance, and it's insurance from enthusiasts that actually get it. So they're covering our cars, and they also do motorcycles as well. Now, some of the benefits of Shannons doing motorcycle insurance is that you can choose your repairer, there's an agreed value, and they also cover your riding apparel. Plus, they also do a roadside assistance and laid up cover if your bike's being restored or worked on. There's also cover if your bike is being used just not as much as usual, which is really handy because a lot of people with motorbikes also have cars. And speaking of that, they do offer a multi-vehicle discount if you've kind of got a number of different policies. So it's really cool, and Shannons has been a great supporter of our show for quite some time. So if you want insurance for your car or your house or your bike from people that get it, then check out shannons.com.au. And now, I do believe, Martin, it is time to try and start this motorcycle. This is it, people, the moment of truth. We're normally getting to this point, but it's with cars, but it's just as exciting to try and get something going again, even if it just has two wheels, and even if it's the best vehicle ever made. How you feeling, Martin?
Good, man. I had to mess with that carby a little bit, so I'm pretty sure our idle's not going to be right. But most everything else is controlled by the size of the jets in it, so it should just run as it always did, which was the reason we recycled that carby rather than throwing a new one on.
Yeah, as it always did many years ago,
Yeah.
before it had been thrashed and abandoned and abused.
All right.
But
cool.
the thing about Posties, they always start.
All right, so we're going to turn this
Always.
on,
Yep.
and the choke is on.
All right.
The idle won't be right, but I'll be able to adjust that. I'll just grab a screwdriver.
I'm in neutral. Oh, there's a bit. How you doing? How you going? All right, Martin. I'm kicking it over. Here we go.
Hold there. Did I say the choke was up or didn't I?
Yes.
Or down?
Up.
All right, try that. Yeah, dude.
Yeah! Postie life.
All right, let it idle for a sec. All right, go again.
A little bit more. Yeah, that's about right.
It'll come up.
High
slowly.
beam. There we go. There it is, everybody.
How good's that? What a beast. You can mess with the idle once it gets warm as well.
Yeah, yeah.
But that purrs.
That oil's not coming from us, is it?
Nah, it's old stuff.
Here we go.
Cool. Beautiful.
All right, there it is, everybody.
Cool.
Thank you very much for watching this episode of Mighty Bike Mods. That was awesome. I really enjoyed that.
Laptop, the tuning laptop of the past. So simple, yet so complicated.
Yes. All right, good. Thank you very much, everybody, for watching. You can check out the Mighty Car Mods website. We've got a blog on there with heaps of articles, cool technical stuff, all sorts of stuff.
Every couple of days there's new stuff going up.
Yep.
And
an email list too that you can check out. It's got lots of stories and lots of cool stuff. You can check that out on the Mighty Car Mods website. That's where our shop is. You can check out Facebook.
it's worth saying also that working on something as simple as this and as fun as this really does remind you of some of the joys. It's really easy to get caught up in these massive 6,500 horsepower drift all-wheel drive 7-rotor triple V8, V12, things that are always happening and you're constantly getting pumped with.
Yeah.
But also sort of just turning all that off and, you know, $300 motorbike, hang out with a mate, basic tool, the most basic tools you can get.
Yeah.
And you can potentially restore it, make it better, fix it up, do it for the fun of it. Hey, pull it apart, put it back together just for the fun of it. Highly
And
recommended.
a lot of people are always talking about the pure experience, and the pure experience they always say is,
Honda?
no, they say it's an engaging steering feel, mid-engine, rear-wheel drive.
Yes.
There it is. All right, see you next time, everybody. Thank you very much. We should turbo one of them for sure.
Oh, dude,
next
I would
episode.
so turbo one. Let's do it.
The video's not over yet. Haven't even ridden it. Yeah.